Winter is coming.
Might just be the cold.
Winter is coming.
It's cold outside.
You don't know cold.
Winter is coming for him.
It's either me or this cold, and it doesn't appear to be going anywhere.
And winter is coming!
You look cold, boys.
Tis a bit nippy.
Winter is coming.
Winter is coming.
That's cold.
Winter is coming.
Mm-hmm.
I'm cold.
It's cold and it's wet.
Winter is coming.
You're crying because you're cold?
You're a long way from home. And winter is coming.
I imagine you might be rather cold.
And winter is coming.
Oh, that's all right. I'm fine.
You're not. You're freezing.
And winter is here. That would be Russ Winter, and he will be joining us shortly. Before we bring the man himself on, we are going to have a little bit of a chat here about True Hemp Science. And True Hemp Science is the sponsor of the show, besides myself, robertphoenix.com. I'm the sneaky sponsor. And True Hemp Science has brought so much value to people's lives through the use of CBD and the hybrids that our friend Chris over at True Hemp Science has been able to create from organically sourced hemp, right? This is what goes into the product, organically sourced hemp. And our friend Chris and all the other CBD purveyors in the state of Texas are in the crosshairs because the state of Texas, well, people, not the state in general, but people inside the state, in conjunction with cartels, want to be in charge of what you put in your body. This is called capitalization consolidation. And there's a bill that's going through the Texas House right now called SB 3, which would, if it goes through, would completely torpedo CBD as we know it. So one of the things that you're supporting Chris and his business will not only do in terms of supporting your body, that money will go towards putting it towards a lobby, a CBD lobby that is actually active and in the Texas legislation, doing their best to push back this Leviathan that wants to wreck his business and the business of literally thousands of other CBD purveyors in the state of Texas. So not only are you supporting his business and this show by purchasing these fine products, you're also supporting the right for Chris and other people, businesses, storefronts, Main Street, to continue to do what they do and help people with their chronic inflammation, their mood, everything that CBD has been proven to be effective. And the results are in economically, even in states where THC is legal, CBD products are more popular. They outsell the THC products, straight THC. Now there's trace elements of THC in CBD. And if SB3 passes, those trace elements of THC become criminal. And that's what's going to put all these businesses out of business. And it has just a powerful effect across all these different areas of our lives. So if you want to help, if you want to keep CBD online in Texas, support Chris, because some of that money, I'm telling you, is going to go into the lobby that is supporting his businesses and others to take these people on. So if you type 15MINS. When you sign out, when you check out, and you get $100 or more, or you spend $100 more as part of your purchase, you will get the goodie bag, which is an order within an order, and you're going to get some really cool stuff in there that will make your order go a little bit further. $150 more gets you free shipping, and there's always a 30-day money-back guarantee. 15MINS, that's your code. Support our guy so he can take some of that money and give it to the CBD lobby so they can take on these assholes who want to end his business and thousands of other businesses because they want a monopoly. So there you go. There's some extra motivation for you to get involved and enjoy this fine product. All right, let's bring him on. The man of the next 2 hours, the great Russ Winter.
Yep. What's all this stuff about Trump and Zelensky? I kind of missed that.
Should we tee it up?
What happened?
They got into a little beef in the Oval Office.
I missed
Trump
that. That must have just happened, huh?
It just happened. Trump has an attack dog. His name is JD Vance. And JD Vance started this very, how do we say this, pro-American dialogue when he was in Munich about 2 weeks ago, and he hasn't let up. Keir Starmer was there yesterday, I believe, and he and Keir Starmer went at it. And it basically said, hey, look, we believe in free speech here. You're part of this so-called Western tradition, and we believe that you're infringing on people's free speech in England. And Keir Starmer had to come back and say, well, we've always had a strong tradition of free speech. And to this day, we support free speech, and we'll support free speech far into the future. And he's a lying sack of shit, because we know that that's not true. That if for whatever reason you spoke out against the sacred Muslim, and by the way, I don't have a beef with Muslim people, but that's going to get you in trouble in England. You're going to get a knock on the door by the bobbies, right? And one of the things that JD Vance pointed out in England, in London, that there was somebody in front of an abortion clinic, just standing there, not even saying anything, but silently praying for the people that were working there and going through that door. That person was arrested. They didn't even say anything, right? So what he brought up to Keir Starmer was not a lie. You and I know this. We follow these things.
The same thing. He just addressed the same thing in Munich to the Europeans at large.
Absolutely, that's where it started.
Germany's just as bad as England or Britain.
So for Keir Starmer to sit there and tell Vance and Trump that they've always had free speech, they support free speech, and free speech in the future, is just a bald-faced lie. And to JD Vance's credit, he kind of let it sit there. He didn't want to turn it into a debate forum. A little bit different on the Zelensky front. Let me play this. Let me see if I can track this thing down, because it is heated. All right, so let's see if I can go here. All right, here we go. All right, I hate CBS. Let me go into YouTube. Let me just get an unfettered cut of this. I just saw it, and I watched some of it before we got on the show. Let me see. JD Vance, Zelensky. Here we go. Let's put this on here. Okay, so this is coming from the Hill. Let's watch the. This is apparently this is Fox Live. We can cut out of this at any point in time that we want. Let's start right here. And let me see if I can make this bigger. So this is, I'm setting the table. This is kind of the beginning of the meeting, and what they're doing is They're supposedly negotiating this minerals deal with Ukraine. So why doesn't this guy wear a fucking suit? Can you tell me that, Russ? Like, he shows up in a tracksuit.
Well, it's kind of his uniform. Like, he works at, that's kind of his military fatigue or something.
You know what this reminds me of? So, have you watched the NBA lately by any chance?
No.
Okay. It's when your father was on the sidelines with Phil, what did your father wear?
Suit and tie.
They don't do that anymore. They all look like Zelenskyy.
Really? They had sort of like sweatshirts on.
They all wear the same thing. They all wear their Nike approved tracksuits or sweatsuits. And I was watching kind of a flashback to 2015 when the Warriors won their first championship, well, their second championship, but their first one in this run against the Cavaliers. Steve Kerr was wearing a suit. So somewhere between 2015 and 2025, they just went,
all in on a whole new look. I'll have to see what they're wearing. I haven't even
every single team, tracksuit retard. That's what I call it, tracksuit retard. All right, let's get into this.
I look like Zelenskyy.
Here we go.
And we've been working very hard, very close. So we've actually known each other for a long time. We've been dealing with each other for a long time and very well.
Trump is always doing the little Illuminati thing right there.
Yeah.
He's always got the Illuminati triangle down by his nuts. All right, here we go.
Well, we had a little negotiation spat, but that worked out great. I think for both countries, I think for the world, actually, beyond both countries. And we have something that is a very fair deal. And we look forward to getting in and digging and working and getting some of the rare earth. But it means we're going to be inside, and it's a big commitment from the United States. And we appreciate working with you very much. And we will continue.
Getting in there and digging up Ukrainian dirt.
Some very good discussions with Russia. I spoke with President Putin, and we're going to try and bring this to a close. It's something that you want and that he wants. We'll have to negotiate a deal, but we've started the confines of a deal, and I think something can happen. The big thing is the number of.
So I'm a big facial expression person. So there's a couple of things that Zelenskyy has done as Trump started to talk about Putin and negotiating. You just go back like a couple of frames, Zelenskyy begins to look away. So watch this.
And we've been working very hard.
By the way, the trident on Zelenskyy's shirt is an ancient Ukrainian symbol. It's a national symbol.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Which also, if you're going to go into symbolism, represents Neptune, which is the Poseidon, god of the ocean. Let's keep going here. Watch Zelenskyy.
And we've been dealing with each other for a long time and very well. We had a little negotiation spat, but that worked out great. I think for both countries, I think for the world, actually, beyond both countries. And we have something that is a very fair deal. And we look forward to getting in and digging and working and getting some of the rare earth. But it means we're going to be inside, and that's
disgusting.
It's a big commitment from the United States, and we appreciate working with you very much. And we will continue to do that. We have had some very good discussions with Russia. I spoke with President Putin, and we're going to try and bring this to a close. It's something that you want and that he wants. We'll have to negotiate.
Raises the eyebrows, right? Like he's raising his eyebrows right here as he leans in. And that raise the eyebrows is, oh, really? Now watch what happens.
Get a deal, but we've started the confines.
Then he looks away, right? Body language is really critical when you talk, when you.
Well, Trump's kind of doing a forced close on the guy.
Exactly. He's looking away. He's not into this.
That's not. I mean, this isn't good tactics. I'm sorry, Donald. Everybody's clapping because he's the way he's dealing with Zelenskyy. You got to be fair, and you can't just do a forced close.
I don't know. I don't know. Like, how long has this war been going on?
Yeah, I know, but that's not
right? Right. Well, I mean, he's putting the guy on blast a little bit, and he did the same thing with Netanyahu. This is like the same move he did with
people
Netanyahu.
People are going to stop talking to him. They're not even going to turn up.
Well, the United States has a lot of whatever you think of Trump. This country still has a lot of weight and power in the world, as diminished as it might be. In some ways, they have to, right? Like look at Jeff Bezos, right? He's got people quitting the Washington Post because the editorial is going more in a direction towards Trump than it was for the Biden regime. So there's something here about power, right? Whether or not it's fair, right? This is about power, and power isn't always fair or easy to look at. So in this case, it's clearly not easy to look at because Zelensky's looking away.
Let's see how successful he is with this kind of stuff with the Russians and Putin.
Well,
they might just walk away. They might just completely walk away.
He's clearly got a different tack with the Russians. Let's keep playing this.
It's of a deal, and I think something can happen. The big thing is the number of.
But you can tell he's uncomfortable.
Soldiers, mostly at this point, but soldiers being killed. They're losing thousands of soldiers. So on both sides, we're losing a lot of soldiers, and we want to see it stop. And we want to see the money get put to different kinds of use, like rebuilding. And we're going to be working very hard.
That was a cocaine move right there.
Susan says that Z is used to.
That's a coke move. It's like line.
Susan says Z is used to being fawned over, so obviously he's flipping that on him. So he's not being fawned over. That's true.
But we've had a lot of very good conversations. I will say until we came along, the Biden administration didn't speak to Russia whatsoever. They didn't speak to anybody. They just allowed this to continue. And I will say that I'll say in front of you, you've heard me say it 1,000 times. If I were president, this war would have never happened. We would have had a deal negotiated for you without having to go through what you've gone through.
And he's like, well, fuck, I wouldn't have gotten all that money. Yeah, that's not what I really want to hear, Donald.
But your soldiers have been unbelievably brave. We've given them great equipment, but somebody has to use the equipment. They've been unbelievably brave, and we give them great credit. This was supposed to be over very quickly, and here we are 3 years later. So I give tremendous credit to your generals and your soldiers and yourself in the sense that it's been very hard fighting, very tough fighting. They're great fighters. And you have to be very proud of them from that standpoint. But now
this is what Trump does. Like, he will do stuff like that, right? Like, remember he was talking about Gaza and how they were getting shot at and, you know, like kind of creating empathy for the people of Gaza, right? He's doing the same thing with Zelenskyy. He's basically telling him your troops have been really brave and tough fighters, and your generals deserve all the credit.
You've lost.
Right. So on the one hand, he's saying, okay, you know, your operation hasn't really worked, so we're going to come in and take over, just like you basically said with the same thing with Gaza. And on the other hand, it's like, yeah, we got to just give you a lot of props and a lot of credit because, man, you fought a hell of a fight, and you guys really deserve some recognition. Trump is very good at this, right? He's very good at this. So let's see what happens next.
We want to get it over with. It's enough, right? If we want to get it over with. So
he's like, oh, well, what about all my cocaine?
It's an honor to have you.
Did you see that little eye roll there? Oh my God. He's got this little eye roll.
He's a little stressed because he's being he's used to being fawned over, and he's kind of getting gamed here. So,
do you remember when he went before, like, the entire freaking House and the Senate? Remember that? And they had the Ukrainian flags, and it was all about him, right? Those days are over.
Right, that's for sure.
He's in the hot seat right now. It's about to get much hotter. Watch this.
Here, thank you very much for coming. We're going to sign the agreement at the conference in the East Room.
A little coke sniff.
Right after lunch. and we'll be having lunch together. We're also discussing some other things, and we appreciate everybody being here. It's a somewhat of an exciting moment, but the really exciting moment is when they stop the shooting and we end up with a deal. And I think we're fairly close to getting that, and an honor to have you. And please, I'd like to say something.
No, thank you so much, Mr. President. Thank you for invitation. And really, I hope that this first document will be a first step to real security guarantees for Ukraine, our people, our children. I really count on it. And of course, we count that America will not stop support. Really, for us, it's very important to support and to continue it. I want to discuss it with details further during our conversation, and of course, the infrastructure or security guarantees. Because for today, I understand what Europe is ready to do. And of course, I want to discuss with you what United States will be ready to do. And I really count on your strong position to stop Putin. And you said that enough with the war. I think that is very important, Ben, to say these words to Putin at the very beginning of war, because he is a killer and terrorist. But I hope that together we can stop him. But for us, it's very important to, to save our country, our values, our freedom and democracy. And of course,
democracy. They haven't had a fucking election in what, 4 years now, right? Because they suspended all the elections. And what about when he got elected in the first place? And you had Victoria Nuland going in there.
He's kind of far. They're trying to do negotiation in front of a camera, and Zelensky's not ready for that yet. He's got completely different positions.
Good. Make him uncomfortable. Put him in the spotlight. Put him in the hot seat. Let's see him squirm a little bit. He's been running this show for a long fucking time. He's had Sean Penn come over there. He's had Angelina Jolie come over there. He's had Ben, what's his name, come over there. And they all went over there on USAID dollars. The three of them alone probably totaled about $30 million.
He just had two leaders from Europe, Macron and the guy from UK, pretty much
Starmer.
Yeah, pretty much backing Zelensky's position up, not Trump's, but Zelensky's position.
Europe
got a new guy coming in from Germany, so this is going to be not going to be a free ride for America. I mean, America just could pull.
I am all in on putting the heat and pressure on Europe.
Yeah, I am too.
I am all in, right? And how do you negotiate with a bunch of fucking drug addicts and pedophiles? Because really, that's who runs Europe. This motherfucker is a drug addict. He is a heavy cocaine user. I don't have any problem saying that, right? Who knows what else goes on in his private life? That dude from Germany, I'm sorry, I don't have any evidence, but he looks like a freaking pervy pedo.
Trump's going to get what he wants. He's putting tariffs on Europe. He's engaged in this type of diplomacy. And when it blows up on America and America really gets isolated, I mean, this is something you and I may want, and a lot of people in our audience may want, but it's not a free ride. It's not all of a sudden everything is hunky-dory.
No, it's not hunky-dory. No, it's not hunky-dory. But it needs to happen. The EU stinks like the fucking most rotten cheese in Denmark. Okay, I know we've got problems here, and we're going to talk about those problems and what you call the grand salami, right? That's another issue.
Europe clearly needs a whole new type of leaders. The ADF and Germany got 21% of the vote, and they have no voice whatsoever, and that's bad too. So there needs to be a real shift in how Europe is led, and that looks impossible. So things don't look very well for Europe.
Europe needs a colonic.
Yeah,
that's what Europe, not an enema, a colonic. All right, I want the Vance thing gets very interesting. So let's keep going here. Give these guys enough runway so we can get to the Vance part. If you have an issue with
Zelensky's trying to continue his narrative the best he can. He's kind of in a difficult spot, but anyway, yeah, go ahead.
If you have a bit of an issue with this heat when you get to the Vance part.
With the killer about our territories, but it will be later. And of course, what I wanted, we spoke about it by phone with you about the drones production. We have very good drones production. I think the best one in the world for today because of the war. Yes, and of course, we need very much the air defense. You have the best air defense in the world, and really you helped us under attacks of Russians. And I want to speak how we can exchange the licenses.
No, we're not going to give you. We're not going to give you air defense.
that was hilarious. That was fucking hilarious. All right, let's keep going.
So for our drones with you, of course, with the United States, and we need licenses for quick production of air defense. Even after the war, we need our nation to be calm, that we are secure. So that's why we need this air shield. And of course, about this, I want to speak about the contingents. I think that France and UK already spoke to you, and we know that Europe is ready, but without the United States, they will not be ready to be as strong as we need. And then the last point, last not least, about exchange, about our people and children. And you know that this crazy Russian, that they stolen 20,000 of children, Ukrainian children. They changed their names. They changed.
Now, let's have a little discussion about trafficking through Ukraine, which has been going on for a very long time, right? So this is Zelensky flipping the script. He's essentially accusing Russia of being traffickers, but this trafficking thing has been happening for a while.
So basically, he's just waving the bloody flag. He's not being conciliatory. He's not trying to make peaceful overtures. Let's go ahead and try to work something up. He's trying to muddy the water, clearly. So Trump doesn't like that. So let's go ahead. Let's see. I want to see Trump's reaction here because he's baiting Trump with this narrative.
We want to bring them back.
Trump doesn't want to hear this. He doesn't want to hear him waving the bloody flag.
And
right?
Our warriors. By the way, Mr. President, we exchanged, released more than 4,000 warriors from Russian prison, but there are thousands more in the prison. I wanted to share with you some images. How it's just can I now?
Yeah, please.
Some minutes, 1 minute. Just you to understand in what circumstances, in what situation they are, and what the attitude of Russia to our prisoners. That guys, just you before and after. And you see before and after, just you to understand. Now thousands of such guys, ladies and men, there, and that, so they don't eat, they beat them, and they, do a lot of bad things. So out of, even during the war, there are rules. Everybody knows there are rules during the war. So these guys.
Now, you notice what Trump is not doing, Russ?
What?
He's not showing the pictures.
Yeah, he knows he's being fed propaganda.
But he's not, whether it's propaganda or not, he's not going to give into his narrative and go, isn't this terrible, right?
He shouldn't be doing this. He shouldn't be waving the bloody flag and engaged in propaganda because Trump's not responsive to this. So, so he's going to blow. Now Trump blows up on him. And Trump.
No. Trump does not blow up on him.
No.
Wait. Okay. Let's give this a little runway here. I mean, this is like, it's kind of like we haven't eaten in about 2 weeks, right? And the first thing that we cross is like Golden Corral. It's like every single 10 or 15 second stop, we're diving in, right? And we're gorging on this. Let's just keep going here.
They don't have any rules. You see that 50, 60 kilograms left, and a lot of such things. And I didn't want to show you what the changes with images of children.
Why did you fucking bring the pictures?
Because I will share just.
The United States to go check this out.
It's looking.
Demand.
I didn't want to share. Then why did you bring the pictures?
Yeah, I wanted very much to.
Oh.
You see.
Yeah.
This is pastor, by the way. They stolen pastors because it's not Russian church. It's stolen pastors and moved pastors to the prison. We, at the end of last year, we brought 3 pastors. And, we could exchange them. And this is pastor, you see.
Yeah.
Kind of like, no, right, enough.
I want to show you and this. So thank you very much.
We want to get that ended, right?
Yeah, of course. We
And
want.
I think we will. And
We have to, of course.
do you have any questions, please?
Thank you, Mr. President. With the how much money is the U.S. going to put into the fund that is being created today, and how does this provide long-term security for Ukraine?
Well, we don't know exactly how much because we're going to be putting some money in a fund that we're going to get from the raw earth that we're going to be taking and sharing in terms of revenue. So it's going to be a lot of money will be made from the sale and from the use of raw earth. And as you know, our country doesn't have much raw earth. We have a lot of oil.
So this is what I hate about Trump, this type of shit. I hate it.
Well, why do you hate it?
It's just unethical behavior. You know, they've destroyed the United States. Maybe not Trump directly, but the United States has played a major role in wrecking the Ukraine. And this guy's going to come in like a vampire, gravedigger, and exploit their raw materials and dig it out of the ground. That's all he's talking about. I mean, I think it's really shameful conduct. And he's doing the same thing in Gaza.
Well, Gaza's a separate discussion. Let's put that over there. When he had Macron at the White House, he learned something about Macron and his deal with Ukraine. What did he learn?
Macron's doing the same kind of shit.
No, he learned that Ukraine was going to pay them back for all.
Right. Yeah, but they're never going to get paid back. Nobody's going to get paid back. But that's what he heard. So with Trump, that's more Trump bullshit.
With Trump, it's like, okay, if he was actually surprised by when Macron.
I'm just trying to keep it real here. You know, I'm not picking sides. I'm just trying to keep it real.
Look. Here's my thing about the world. The world is not a pretty place. Right. If we think we're in Jeffersonian diplomatic kind of times, I think we need to take the blinders off. Right. Because we're dealing with ultimately like cutthroat conditions. And if he's not going to be a cutthroat, somebody else is going to be a cutthroat. And it's like, okay, is he our cutthroat? I guess. Right. He's our cutthroat. But to think that the world is run by Jeffersonian diplomats, I think is a bit delusional. Now I understand where you're coming from. I get where you're coming from. You'd like this to be a lot more seamless, you know, kind of behind the scenes and not, you know, making Trump the face of an ugly America. I get it. Right.
That's exactly how I see it. I wouldn't alter that statement at all. It's exactly how I see it. It's just shameless.
I get it. And my piece around this is, Russ, the world is ugly.
Yeah, okay.
The world is ugly. He's our ugly American.
Why be the ugly face up in front? You know.
Is it better to be the ugly face in front, or the smiling, articulate, sort of placating face of Obama, and then be ugly behind the scenes?
I think that I think there's a whole bunch of lies embedded in this whole rare earth story. First of all, I don't think there's that much available to the Ukrainians and by extension the Americans. I think a lot of it is in Russian hands. I don't know how valuable it is. I think they have some lithium. I mean, I've actually been doing a little bit of research into what the raw materials and minerals of Ukraine are, and it's not that big of a deal. So he's exaggerating the effect, and I think what he's doing is just opening the way for the Black Rocks really to take things of value.
That is probably part of the deal, and
they're after soil. The thing that's valuable about the Ukraine is soil and the agriculture areas and the wheat and things like that.
Right.
And so you get this poor country involved in a war that your country, the country you represent, Trump, and you can't separate yourself from the United States. and act like, oh, well, I had nothing to do with that, therefore I can go in and take over all the black soil of Europe, of Ukraine, and work with BlackRock and
grab
raw earths and play that little game.
If
you get paid back for war debts.
If the United States doesn't do it, and this is unfortunately, I kind of hate this saying, somebody else will.
No, Ukraine needs to default. It's as simple as that. Just like Argentina tried to fall. But we've already discussed that. It's all tied up in New York courts with Jewish judges. That's how that game is played. So this is a big international scam that is going on. It's a crime syndicate that is going to victimize the Ukraine.
Well,
Zelensky's playing into it because Zelensky's doing deals with this asshole.
Well, Zelensky is over a barrel because he knows that Ukraine is not going to become a member of NATO. That's not going to happen because the United States has a huge vote in the whole NATO process. That's not going to happen.
Right.
So Zelensky's over a barrel. Zelensky's over a barrel. Right.
I get that part of it. I get that part of the negotiation with the Russians, and they're going to have to give up territory. But I really don't like this grab fest that I'm seeing.
He's putting Zelensky on blast. Right. He's putting him on blast, and he wants to get something out of the deal. That's Trump. Right. He wants to get something. He doesn't want to get fucked. Right, he wants something out of the deal. He's a business dude, right? This is whether it's good business or bad business. He's a business dude.
Well, it feels to me like he's doing deals with Zelensky that Zelensky shouldn't be doing, and getting Zelensky in.
Zelensky has no option. Whether he should or shouldn't, he's over a barrel. Right? What are Zelensky's options in this? This is not the last 4 years of Biden.
Zelensky doesn't have any options, but other Ukrainian leaders do. They can just default. Just say, nobody's paying you back, Europe and the United States.
Like who? Like who? Like which Ukrainian leader are we talking about?
Well, it always comes down to that, doesn't it? And so you got a crime syndicate just controlling all this.
So let's be honest.
You're locked into this sickening entanglement with these criminals.
Well, unless Jesus Christ comes back within the next couple of years, let's have an honest conversation that the world is run by crime syndicates. Period. End of story.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, let's have an adult conversation about it.
But what Trump wants to do is, it sounds like what Zelensky's trying to do is get ensnared into more weapons, more deals, getting rid of more resources, all the things of value with the Ukraine.
Zelensky's trying to get a win
for more weapons and continuing the war, and that's Zelensky's role. Zelensky's role as a warmonger. So
he's trying to get a win out of the situation, right? He's trying to get some kind of concession. And
air defense and weapons,
whatever,
drones, and that's what he's
whatever.
That's what the whole conversation's been about. This is really a sickening conversation from both of these parties. This is
I think it's interesting. Like, we're watching people try to negotiate their positions, right? And Zelensky's going to use the victim card. Look at what happened to these people. Look at what happened to these. I find this fascinating. Whether it's sickening or not, I find it fascinating. Wait till we get to Vance, though. We haven't even got to Vance.
Very Machiavellian, fascinating. I'll admit that.
Yeah.
And what we do have is protected by the environmentalists, but that can be unprotected. But still, it's not very much. They have among the best in the world in terms of raw. So we're going to be using it for all of the things we do, including AI. And including weapons and the military, and it's really going to very much satisfy our needs. So something that just worked out really well. We have a lot of oil, and we have a lot of gas. We have a lot, but we don't have raw earth. So this has just about every component of the raw earth that we need for computers, for all of the things.
By the way, the raw earth stuff has been the domain of China for like the last 15 years, right? And Trump knows that whatever's there, however much or however little, he doesn't want China to get a foothold in Ukraine. And China would be happy to. So I get it at that level as well. All right, let's keep going.
We do. This puts us in great shape.
And on long-term security for Ukraine, how does this provide?
I think they're going to have great luck. I think once we make the agreement, that's going to be 95% of it. They're not going to go back to fighting. I've spoken with President Putin, and I feel very strong. I've known him for a long time, and I feel very strongly that they're very serious about it, and we'll make a deal. And when the deal is made, I don't think we talk about security. Everyone's talking about the other day. All they talked about was security. I said, let me make the deal first. I have to make the deal first. I don't worry about security right now. We have to have a deal because right now, last week, 2,000 soldiers died on both sides. 2,000, and they're losing 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 a week. So as we sit here and we talk, people are getting shot and dying on the battlefield. And, they're not American soldiers, but they're Russian soldiers and they're Ukrainian soldiers, and we want to be able to stop it. And we want to be able also to spend money on other things. We don't want to, this is a tremendous amount of money. And what the Biden administration did was terrible. They were giving money, but he had no security on the money. Europe, as you know, gave much less money, but they had security. It was in the form of a loan. They get their money back.
Yeah, good luck getting paid back, Europe.
At least we're protected because the American taxpayer has to be protected too. But this is an incredible agreement for Ukraine because we have a big investment in their country now. And what they have, very few people have. And we're able to really go forward with very, very high-tech things and many other things, including weaponry that we're going to use in many locations, but that we need for our country. This allows us to do that.
Will you continue? Sorry.
Military aid. Yes, go ahead, please.
If I can just, yes. In the document, there is one of the very important points. If we speak about business and investment, we never had LNG terminals in Ukraine. This document will open. I mean, the next document, but anyway, here we see in the framework, we see really goodwill for this. LNG terminals for us is very important, and I think for security of European continent.
So LNG terminals, liquid natural gas, right? And he's basically saying, hey, look, we need to have these things so we can either siphon it off from the Russians or have some kind of a fiduciary relationship with the Russians. So as it passes through from Russia to Ukraine, we're getting the bump off the LNG. That's what he's talking about, right?
Yeah, because again, they can add value to the gas coming through, but they also produce some of their own. So I don't know how much of that enters into it. So that's a legitimate conversation.
Yeah. All right.
We have the biggest gas storage. We have the biggest in Europe. Yes. And we can use it. Use it for LNG. Use it for LNG, and we will do it. And really, we can help Europe because Europe really helped. President Trump said that they made less support, but they are our friends and they are our very supportive.
Okay, so there's Zelensky's preparing Ukraine for close ties with Europe,
they did.
And that's the kind of ties that Europe should form with the Ukraine. That's legitimate.
Right. All right.
And also with Russia, because a lot of this gas and energy comes through pipelines through the Ukraine, Belarus. They should open all that up, all these countries. That's a real good solution if they can do that. They could parlay off of that, but not make it just our gas, just our Ukrainian gas, but not the Russians. So, but that's the point for negotiation. Of course, we're trying to do this on the show in real life. I don't think we're doing too bad a job of it.
No. Okay.
Mr. President Trump, you have repeatedly called the deal with Ukraine as a historical one. And as a president of the United States, you make historical decisions in other issues which affect America and other world. So what place in the world history do you want to take? And do you associate yourself with any famous historical figures?
I'd say George Washington, Abraham Lincoln. I would say I'm far superior to George Washington and Abraham Lincoln. Now, you know I'm only kidding, right? Because when I say that, the fake news is going to go wild. They're going to say he considers himself to be better than Washington. But you never know. You never know. I don't compare myself to anybody. I'm here to do a job. We've had a great 35 days or whatever it might be, a month, a little more than a month. We've accomplished tremendous amounts. Not only this would be a very great achievement if we could get the war stopped and get them back to normalization. I think that's going to happen. We've had very good talks on both sides, as you know, but I think we've done a very good job. Just generally, if you look at all of the things we've done in 30 days, they're saying there's never been a opening for a president. The first month, there's never been a first month like we've had. And this is one of the very important things. This to me is one of the most important things because we have tremendous death taking place as we speak. And I don't want to have that. Think of the parents, whether they're in Russia or Ukraine, think of the parents of all these people being killed needlessly.
They came to our territory.
Should have never started.
What did he say? I missed that. What did he say?
He said they came to our territory.
Oh.
And now look he's being completely dismissive of Trump, right? Trump is getting the equivalent of the eye roll, right? They came to our territory. And Trump's trying to be fair. Look, there's people dying on both sides.
Trump's trying to put equal value on Ukrainian and Russian lives. I mean,
right. And Zelensky says, no, Ukrainian lives are worth more.
Right.
Our president.
I did the eye roll again.
Will you continue sending military aid to Ukraine after the U.S. signs this agreement with Ukraine?
Yeah, we're going to be continuing.
To President Zelensky, do you feel like the U.S. is on your side? That President Trump is on your side at this moment?
What do you think?
He wants to know, do you think that, sort of a stupid question. I guess we wouldn't be here if I wasn't.
I think that the United States on our side from the very beginning of occupation, and I think that President Trump on our side, and of course, I'm sure that United States President will not stop support. This is crucial for us. It's important for us. Yes. And Putin, the president, speaks about the people and the soldiers which are dying, but they came to our territory, they came to our land. They began this war, and they have to stop. And I think this is the question, with really the most important question. Can President Trump, I hope yes, with some other allies, to stop Putin, withdraw these enemies, our enemy, withdraw these troops from our land? And I think that
that's not going to happen.
History. I think that if President or when he will stop Putin, if President Trump will bring peace to our country, I think he will be on this wall. I think
we've had very, very good talks.
What about military aid to Ukraine?
President Zelensky just said that there will be no compromises with Vladimir Putin. I just wanted to ask both of you. Firstly, are there compromises that you think that President Zelensky is going to have to make? President Zelensky, is there anything that you might be thinking that you may be able to offer or bring to the table, for example, elections? Thank you.
I think you're going to have to always make compromises. You can't do any deals without compromises. So certainly he's going to have to make some compromises, but hopefully they won't be as big as some people think you're going to have to make. That's all. That's all we can do. I'm here as an arbitrator, as a mediator to a certain extent between two parties that have been very hostile, to put it mildly. They've been very hostile. There's been a vicious war. There's been a vicious war. It's a very level battlefield, and those bullets go out. And as I've said many times, we were talking about it with Pete, many times the only thing stopping those bullets is a human body. And in the case we're talking about, generally young human bodies are stopping a lot of bullets. It's dead level. That's why it's great farmland. It's great land. It's great farmland, but there's very little protection against the bullets that are being and other things that are being shot. So all I can do is see if I can get everybody at the table and get an agreement. And I think we're going to end up with an agreement. Otherwise, I wouldn't probably be even here today.
Mr. President, I've got two questions for you. You think ultimately your legacy will be the peacemaker and not the president that led this country into another war and ended foreign wars? And I've got a question.
I hope it will. I mean, I hope I'm going to be remembered as a peacemaker. This would be a great thing if we could do this. I'm doing this to save lives more than anything else. Second is to save a lot of money, but I consider that to be far less important. So I hope I'm going to thank you, Brian.
Okay, so how about Vance?
I hope
we'll skip ahead a little bit. This is awfully long. What happens? When do things get real interesting?
Well, I think it's already been interesting.
Okay. Well, yeah, I'll agree. They kind of laid the foundations.
All right, here we go. This is where it gets.
And I understand that, but
hot.
I can tell you the other side isn't exactly in love with, him either. So it's not a question of alignment.
Zelensky wants to win. He wants to win something, right? He either wants to win public opinion because they've invaded, they've taken up his space. He needs to win something out of this deal. He is not going to be content during this conversation unless he's conceded a point, right? And the point he's trying to make is that they invaded, they did this, they did that. They are the victimizers. We are the victims. And until you recognize that we're the victims, we're not going to be able to move forward in this. Right. And this is
And if the United States doesn't accept that narrative, then he's got a big problem.
Because he doesn't want to take the L, right? He doesn't want to take the L. So here comes Vance.
Okay.
I'm aligned with the world. I want to get the thing set. I'm aligned with Europe. I want to see if we can get this thing done. You want me to be tough? I could be tougher than any human being you've ever seen. I'd be so tough. But you're never going to get a deal that way. So that's the way it goes. All right, one more question.
Hey, I will respond to this. So look, for 4 years in the United States of America, we had a president who stood up at press conferences and talked tough about Vladimir Putin. And then Putin invaded Ukraine and destroyed a significant chunk of the country. The path to peace and the path to prosperity is maybe engaging in diplomacy. We tried the pathway of Joe Biden of thumping our chest and pretending that the president of the United States' words mattered more than the president of the United States' actions. What makes America a good country is America engaging in diplomacy. That's what President Trump is doing.
Can I ask you?
Sure.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So he occupied our parts, big parts of Ukraine, parts of East and Crimea. So he occupied it on 2014. So during a lot of years, so I'm not speaking about just Biden, but those time was Obama, then President Obama, then President Trump, then President Biden, now President Trump, and God bless, now President Trump will stop him. But during 2014, nobody stopped him. He just occupied and took. He killed people. You know what the contact
2015.
2014.
2014 and
2014.
Yeah. So
I was not here.
Yeah, but
that's exactly right.
Yes, but during 2014 till 2022, the situation the same. The people have been dying on the contact line. Nobody stopped him. You know that we had conversations with him, a lot of conversation, my bilateral conversation, and we signed with him, me, like a new president. In 2019, I signed with him the deal. I signed with him, Macron and Merkel, we signed ceasefire. Ceasefire, all of them told me that he will never go. We signed him with gas contract. Yes, but after that, he broken this ceasefire. He killed our people and he didn't exchange prisoners. We signed the exchange of prisoners, but he didn't do it. What kind of diplomacy JD, you are speaking about? What do you mean?
I'm talking about the kind of diplomacy that's going to end the destruction of your country.
Yes, but if you
Mr. President, with respect, I think it's disrespectful for you to come to the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media. Right now, you guys are going around and forcing conscripts to the front lines because you have manpower problems. You should be thanking the president for trying to bring an end to this conflict.
Have you ever been to Ukraine? That you say what problems we have?
I have been to.
Count once.
I've actually watched and seen the stories, and I know what happens is you bring them on a propaganda tour, Mr. President. Do you disagree that you've had problems bringing people into your military? And do you think that it's respectful to come to the Oval Office of the United States of America and attack the administration that is trying to prevent the destruction of your country?
A lot of questions. Let's start from the beginning.
Sure.
First of all, during the war, everybody has problems, even you, but you have nice ocean and don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future. God bless.
You don't know that.
God bless.
You don't
God
know
bless.
that.
You will not have a war.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because
I'm
you're in no
answering on
position
this
to
question.
dictate that.
That's
Remember
exactly what
this.
you're doing.
You're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel. We're going to feel very
You will
good.
feel influence.
We're going to feel very
I'm
good and
telling
very
you,
strong.
You will feel influence.
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed
From the
yourself
very-
to be in a
from
very
the very
bad position,
beginning
and he
of the
happens
war.
to be right about
From
it.
the very beginning of the war.
You're not
Mr.
in a
Brown,
good position.
I was
You don't
saying
have the cards right now. With us, you start having
not playing
cards.
cards.
Right now, you
I'm
don't.
very
You're playing
serious,
cards.
Mr. President.
You're
I'm
playing
very
cards.
serious.
You're
I'm
gambling
the
with the
president
lives
in
of
war.
millions of people.
You think-
You're gambling with World War III. You're gambling with World War III. And what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country. That's
with
back
all
to you.
respect to your
Far
country.
more than a lot of people said
very
they
respect.
should have.
Have you said thank you once? This
A lot
entire
of
meeting?
times.
No,
Wow.
this entire meeting, you said thank you. You went to Pennsylvania and campaigned for the opposition in October. Offer some words of appreciation for the United States of America and the president who's trying to save your country.
Please, you think that if you will speak very loudly about the war, you
He's
can...
not speaking loudly. He's not
Yeah.
speaking loudly. Your country's
Can I-
in big
can I-
trouble.
Can I
Wait a
answer?
minute. No.
Can
You've
I
done a lot
answer?
of talking. Your country is in big trouble.
I know.
You're not
I
winning.
know.
You're not winning this.
I-
You have a damn
We-
good chance of
we are
coming out
staying,
okay because of
Mr.
us.
President, we are staying in our country, staying strong from the very beginning of the war. We've been alone, and we are thankful. I said thanks
You haven't
in
been
this
alone.
cabinet,
You
and
haven't
not
been
only
alone.
in this
We
cabinet.
gave you, through
I
this
said
stupid
thank-
president, $350 billion.
You
We
voted
gave
for
you
your
military equipment,
You
and you
voted
men
for
are
your
brave,
president.
but they had to use our military.
What about
If you didn't have
You
our
invited
military
me-
equipment,
You invited
if
me
you
to
didn't
speak.
have our military equipment, this war would have been over in 2 weeks.
In 3
okay?
days, I heard it from Putin. In 3 days, this is something
Maybe
new.
less.
In 2 weeks, of course, yes.
It's going to be a very hard thing to do business like this. I
Again,
tell you.
just say thank you.
I said a lot of times
that there,
thank you
except
to
that-
American people.
Except that there are disagreements, and let's go litigate those disagreements rather than trying to fight it out in the American media when you're wrong. We know that you're wrong.
But you see, I think it's good for the American people to see what's going on.
I understand, sir.
I think it's
I
very
understand.
important. That's why I kept this going so long. You have to be thankful. You
I'm-
don't have the
I'm
cards.
thankful.
You're buried there. Your people are
I
dying.
can tell you
You're
again,
running
I
low
know.
on soldiers.
Don't-
Listen,
don't please,
you're running
Mr.
low
President.
on soldiers. It would be a damn good thing.
Mr.
And then
President.
then you tell us, I don't want a ceasefire. I don't want a ceasefire. I want to go and I want this. Look, if you could get a ceasefire right now, I tell you, you take it so the bullets stop flying and your men stop getting killed.
Of course, we want to stop the war.
But you're
I
saying
said-
you don't want a
But I
ceasefire.
said to you,
I want a
with
ceasefire
guarantees.
because you'll get a ceasefire faster than an agreement.
Ask our people about ceasefire, what they think.
Russians might not want a
That
ceasefire.
wasn't with me.
Let's hear this.
That
This is
was
great.
with a guy named Biden, who was not a smart person.
This
That
is
was
your-
with,
this
that was
is
with
your
Obama.
president. It was your president.
Excuse me. That was with Obama, who gave you sheets, and I gave you javelins.
Yes.
I gave you the javelins to take out all those tanks. Obama gave you sheets. In fact, the statement is Obama gave sheets and Trump gave javelins. You got to be more thankful, because let me tell you, you don't have the cards. With us, you have the cards, but without us, you don't have any cards.
One more question to this Vice President. I'm sorry.
It's going to be a tough deal to make, because the attitudes have to change.
What if Russia breaks ceasefire? What did Russia please talks? What did it do then? I understand that it's a heated conversation right now.
What are you saying?
She's asking, what if Russia breaks the ceasefire?
What if anything? What if a bomb drops on your head right now? Okay. What if they broke it? I don't know. They broke it with Biden because Biden, they didn't respect him. They didn't respect Obama. They respect me. Let me tell you, Putin went through a hell of a lot with me. He went through a phony witch hunt where they used him and Russia. You ever hear of that deal? That was a phony Hunter Biden, Joe Biden scam. Hillary Clinton, Shifty Adam Schiff. It was a Democrat scam. And he had to go through that. And he did go through it. We didn't end up in a war. And he went through it. He was accused of all that stuff. He had nothing to do with it. It came out of Hunter Biden's bathroom. It came out of Hunter Biden's bedroom. It was disgusting. And then they said, oh, the laptop from hell was made by Russia. The 51 agents. The whole thing was a scam. And he had to put up with that. He was being accused of all that stuff. All I can say is this. He might have broken deals with Obama and Bush, and he might have broken them with Biden. He did, maybe. Maybe he didn't. I don't know what happened. But he didn't break them with me. He wants to make a deal. I don't know if you can make a deal. The problem is I've empowered you to be a tough guy. And I don't think you'd be a tough guy without the United States. And your people are very brave. But you're either going to make a deal or we're out. And if we're out, you'll fight it out. I don't think it's going to be pretty, but you'll fight it out. But you don't have the cards. But once we sign that deal, you're in a much better position. But you're not acting at all thankful. And that's not a nice thing. I'll be honest, that's not a nice thing.
Wow, fascinating.
I've seen enough. What do you think?
Now that part was fascinating.
It's going to be great television, I will say that.
Fucking JD Vance. Let's talk about JD Vance for a second.
No, it was actually Trump that came on. It was Trump that the approach that Trump took was perfect in that instance.
But JD Vance was the one that triggered it.
Yeah,
he was the one that JD Vance became the bad cop. Right? He said, "You're being disrespectful," essentially adjudicating this in the White House, right? You are being disrespectful. You're not being grateful for being here. And I object to what you're doing. Right? I mean, JD Vance is a fucking, whatever you think of him and Palantir and Peter Thiel, JD Vance is kind of a rock star because Mike Pence would have never have said that. Mike Pence would have just sat there waiting for a fly to land on his forehead.
That was pretty amazing for this level of diplomacy, for that to happen. And I don't know that I object to it. I mean, I object to a lot of the things that Trump is doing, his business bullshit. But that was pretty much in your face. This is how it's going to be. This is our negotiating point, and we're doing it in public. So you can be damn well sure we're going to be doing it behind closed doors. And that really sent Zelensky a message. You know, Zelensky's got to be in total panic mode after that. But the idea though is to preserve the Ukraine as a country. You know, you don't want the Ukraine totally occupied by a bunch of Russians. You know, it's just certain areas of the Ukraine, and so you have to divide the country up and figure out what territories are going to go Russian.
So, like what you got east of the Dnieper River,
something
right?
Like that, yeah.
I mean, that's kind of always been the boundary. Mostly Russian.
You have a plebiscite. I mean, I know the story of Ukraine pretty well, but there's certain areas like the Kharkov, that province up there, that's kind of split Ukrainian and Russian. Some problem areas. They probably need to have plebiscites.
I think the big negotiating point is going to be Odessa.
Right.
I think Odessa, because it actually has the connection to the ocean, like Crimea does, is going to be a big negotiating point.
What I think that the United States needs to do is pursue that attack, and the message has to go out that Zelensky, your role is over. You know, you're not going to be. going to be the guy involved in this. Find somebody else that has some respect to the Ukrainian people. And I mean, it's a tough task. They could bully the hell out of Ukraine if they wanted.
Absolutely. I mean, look, Zelensky, for me, the entire time has been a total cocksucker. I can't stand the guy. Okay,
oh, yeah.
He's a total cocksucker, and he has been aided and abetted and feted by the American press and the Democratic establishment. And frankly, I've been sick of that little man.
Well, what Trump said to him was perfect. He says, I've enabled you. You know, I've turned you into a tough guy, and I've enabled you, and those days are over. I mean, what could be more clear than that? That was the whole presentation right there to Zelensky. You're not going to be a tough guy anymore.
Man, Trump went from being conciliatory and trying to be diplomatic and like, we're going to get something out of the deal. You're going to get something out of the deal. We want this thing to stop. People are dying on both sides, right? Your people are very brave, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? Trump is trying to do the right thing in front of the cameras, have Zelensky save some face, and Zelensky wasn't having it.
No, he wasn't.
He's like, I got to win. I got to win here.
Zelensky did all of his propaganda, and he kept coming back to, he acts like they had no role whatsoever and rolling right up to the Russian border, and rolling into those Russian-speaking areas and kind of terrorizing. And the Ukraine had no role in that. I mean, it took two to tango here.
Absolutely. And Vance has a point. They're running out of people. They keep running up the age of who they.
So people are going to criticize Vance and Trump. I'm not here. I'm trying to be fair to Trump. People in the comments are saying I'm extremely biased against Trump. I am not. I mean, my instincts are pretty good. I think I know what's decent and right, the proper thing to say. So I had no problem with that. A lot of people will. He's going to get a huge blowback on that one, but not from me.
Yeah. Well, this is where you and I are. We're at the same horizontal plane on this one, because I agree with you, and I could see what Trump was even trying to do before that. I didn't know it was going to go that. I'd never seen that. You and I are watching that for the first time, right? And I'm like, okay, Trump was trying to be fair here. He's not trying to muscle Zelensky, and then that little shit had to get the L somehow, and they weren't going to let him get away with it. They were not going to let him get away with it,
because he insisted on making the whole thing a big propaganda campaign, and that's what Vance called him on. You're in Washington DC running propaganda operations. Zelensky, that's pretty much what he accused him of. Isn't that what he said?
And not only that, but it's disrespectful for you to do that while you're here. And we're here for you to negotiate with you on your behalf, and you're not even listening. You're running your program, and you're accusing us and Russia of doing certain things, and it has got to stop. Not in this house, buddy. Right? And that is consistent with what Vance said 2 weeks ago in Munich. It's the same message.
But, you're not going to get paid back, Trump. If you think you're going to be able to extort money out of Ukraine and have them pay you back and extract.
I think he's just
divided up with your buddies at BlackRock.
Russ, he's using it as leverage, right? He's got to have some leverage in the deal. He's got to get something out of the deal. And that's part of the deal, whether it's a major part or a game-changing part. Everybody needs to get. Look, Trump said there's got to be some level of compromise in any deal. I agree with that, right? I agree with some level of compromise, but at the end of the day,
the problem is Zelensky's prepared to give the whole Ukraine away to.
I don't necessarily think he's going to give the whole of Ukraine away. Look, Zelensky will be lucky if his ass doesn't wind up in a ringer somewhere.
I'm not saying he's going to give the whole territory of Ukraine to Russia. I'm not saying that, but he will turn over a large part of the control and economic control of the Ukraine to a bunch of American kleptocrats that are
that's
what I really fear for Ukraine.
I've become, unfortunately, kind of a realist. Like, it's the cost of doing business on planet Earth now, right? Whether we like it or not. One of the reasons they start wars. Amnesty International is not going to walk in there and say, well, you can't do it this way. And by the way, let's take a look at Ukraine in terms of like where they are after how many years of war now. Are they going to be able to go in and get into the infrastructure and do that shit for themselves? The answer to that is no. No, because they don't have the infrastructure. They don't have the resources, right? So you may as well, and I hate BlackRock. I'm not here waving a flag for fucking BlackRock.
But the thing is, I want to make a point to a few people in the audience that think it's the Ukrainians' obligation to pay the money back. It is not the Ukrainians' obligation. The Ukrainian is captured, like so many other countries in the world, by corrupt, evil individuals that have got them into a world hurt. So the Ukrainian people need to be protected. That's the ethical thing to do. When Germany lost World War II, most of the blame was cast on the leadership. You didn't go in and exterminate or completely control all of Europe that fought.
Well, I think you're treading on thin ice there when you talk about reparations for the Holocaust. That's which they're still paying to this day, by the way. So I think you may want to use a bit of a different
they still
example than that.
They certainly got certain scams going for sure. But
Look.
In general, they built Germany back up.
We did the Marshall Plan. The Marshall Plan, so then they could afford to pay the reparations for the Holocaust. All right, so gotcha on that one.
Okay.
All right. So let's have a realistic discussion about this. And I'm not a fan of BlackRock. I'm not a fan of the Carlyle Group or Rand or whoever these are multinational corporations, and unfortunately, they are part of our lives. Right? We wouldn't be driving our cars and having petroleum without them. It's a deal. It's a deal that we indulge in every day, whether we are acknowledging it or not. What would be the best case solution for this? That the Ukrainian people get a cut of the deal. That's the best case solution, Russ. Right? That's the best case solution. That they get something out of it. And then maybe, perhaps, the loan, the payback, who the fuck knows? I'm kind of a realist around this stuff. And that doesn't always happen, by the way. Sometimes people get fucked over by multinational corporations. Go take a walk through Central America and South America. You'll see what I mean. Right? But
Ukraine's best deal might fall from it's not going to fall from the Chinese.
Well, the Chinese will come in there and they'll do the exact same thing.
Yeah, they will. Yeah, they have a bad reputation. They have a bad reputation, and the Russians aren't going to really do it. So I don't know what's going to work for the Ukraine.
Right. So I think we just have to look at this from a realistic perspective. Trump, I do think, wants to end the war. I think he wants to end it. Look, I've said this before. Trump wants a statue, right? He wants a statue. He wants to be known as the guy that ends the war. I think he would love that. I also feel like when he talks about lives being ended, you can kind of check in. Is he just using that as propaganda, or does he really feel that? When I hear him say that, I kind of feel that he feels that.
No, I think his instincts are pretty good on trying to end this war. I do. I don't think he's as far off as he is on so many other things. I mean, I just look at him on issue after issue, and he's just really something else. But here, he's going to get some blowback. People are going to really give him shit for this, but I think he kind of did the right thing.
That was epic, man. I mean, how many times, God, that little fucking cocksucker Zelensky.
Here's somebody says James Morgan says it's a long flight back to Ukraine.
That's if he gets a flight, right? You can get on the cargo ship, buddy. Yeah, man. Or maybe it could be a very short flight, depending on what happens along the
Z
way.
will probably not survive this politically. I think this was the purpose of this drama. Yeah, I agree with that.
Well, he was the one that brought it out, right? He could have sat there and said, "I'm really appreciative of what you're doing."
Yeah, kind of
Mr.
make my
President.
day. Clint Eastwood, make my day type of moment.
He could have been very appreciative, and he could have just said, "We look forward to working with you on this and bringing this to a close, and that both sides are represented fairly and respectfully." Done. But no, he's got to keep pushing it. He doesn't want to take the L. He wants to make sure that he's the victim. The Russians are the perpetrators, and nothing less than a Ukraine victory on Ukraine's terms is going to be the deal that he is going to accept. That's what he was negotiating there.
And then the other thing Trump said to Sharmer, is he kind of said it kind of kidding and kind of laughed. And he basically looked at him and says, "Oh, so you think that you can lick the Russians on your own?"
Yeah.
Oh, you think you can beat the Russians on your own? And then he kind of smiled, but you know what he meant. If you really want to go fight the Russians, because we're not going to be involved.
Wow. Trump went from good cop to bad cop. He turned on a dime. And you know what I liked about that? He had JD Vance's back.
Well,
he had his.
They gamed it out. They probably even.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if they wanted. I don't know if they were going to go in that. Look, I think Vance probably would have been there, and he would have been stoic, and he wouldn't have said anything if Zelensky would have just shut his fucking mouth and said he was appreciative. But he wasn't. He didn't go there. He kept.
I think they kind of planned it out. That depending on how this Zelensky, they probably briefed him and said, "This is the way Zelensky's is. This is his narratives, and he's already doing it in negotiations behind the scenes. And he's engaging in behavior that's obstructionist, and therefore
little weasel.
Therefore, you got to test the water." And probably Vance just came out with the opening volley. Trump.
I think. Well, so what's interesting is that was a press opportunity, right? He was taking questions from the press, and Vance is like, "Hold on a second, can I say something?" Right? That was not, "Hey JD, would you like to have a word here?" Vance stepped in. And he was like, "This is bullshit. You're not going to dictate your terms."
Vance is taking a chance doing that. He's taking a risk. So he must feel pretty darn sure about his positions on stuff.
I think Vance, even though, look, we all know that the elephant in the room is Israel, right? We know the elephant in the room is the whole Zio thing. And Vance has got an A+ on everything. But that, like the Trump administration, like for people like us, that's a complete F. On other areas, that was a fucking A+ moment on both those guys, right? So that was really interesting, and we didn't really plan on going here on this show.
I give the back half an A, and I give the front half a D.
Well, they don't get to the back half unless they have the front half.
Yeah, that was Zelensky doing that.
Yeah. So, God, I feel like in some ways going down the Jeffrey Epstein thing is just a bit anticlimactic after where we've been.
I had no idea this happened. I really had no idea what I was going to see.
No, but that's the beauty of that's the beauty of this, right? We can have this in real time. We can play it out. We can comment on it. And hell, man, that was entertaining. I want to see what the chat has to say because I've just been locked in on the video.
Yeah, everybody's pretty much anti-Zelensky. People don't like Zelensky. He's a
look
snake.
At Lynn says, "Who cares about Epstein? This is much better." I agree. Right? I totally agree.
I hope it
Absolutely.
works. I hope it works, and I hope that the Ukraine themselves, the Ukrainian people, don't just get totally raped beyond what's already happened to them.
Well, how much more can happen to them? No, I think they're going to be. I think they'll be okay. Sam says more spontaneous this way. I agree with you. Totally. Yeah. Robin, I love this. How to flush a turd 101. Exactly. Zelensky is the turd. He's the turd that's been hanging out in your toilet bowl for the last 3 fucking years.
It says via Twitter that Zelensky got sent home and not invited to stay to the end. Oh, so he didn't stay for the actual press conference that they had, or they had like a.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. That's awesome. Good job. Right? Good job.
Yeah, I don't see how you could immediately kiss and make up after that.
Laura E., rare real-time event here today. Man, so let's just take a step back for a second, Russ. All right.
Well, what's the blowback going to be, from
hold on a second. Okay. Before we go there, let's take a step back for a second. Here we are. It's the 21st century. I'm here in the hill country of Texas. Like, you're in Czechoslovakia. And Czech Republic. We do this once a month. And we have this technology that's available to us. And this is not some dial-up shit, right? This is clear audio, clear video, right? And we do this. And now in real time, we're able to respond to a news event
that we haven't even seen. Yeah, that we haven't even seen. Yeah.
That's right. And it allows us to engage in real time. And you have been delving into this world for a long time, and you do it on a daily basis. You take a shovel to this stuff every day. So what you're bringing to the table is not amateur hour, right? You got a background in finance, right? You bring a lot to what we're talking about. Dude, this is my grind every single day, right? So you and I come together in real time. We get to dissect this. We get to create media out of it. And this is really like Pluto and Aquarius. This is like for lack of a better term, sort of this new edge. We'll call it the new edge, not the new age, but the new edge that we have access to. We just got to step back for a second, Russ. This was not what we were doing 20 years ago, literally and figuratively.
Or even 5 years ago.
This is amazing. Like we may not always have this access, right? But to do it now, to have it now, hallelujah. Like, I'm grateful for this.
Well, there was a lot of transparency there.
Yeah,
that's what kind of made that event kind of amazing. A lot of transparency, and exactly what Trump said. I want the American people to see what we're dealing with behind the scenes.
Yep. I'm going to throw this out there.
They didn't sugarcoat it like Biden would have. Everything was totally sugarcoated under Biden. Things are pretty raw under Trump, I got to admit. And that does bring some transparency in certain ways, but there's also a lot of trickery going on.
Isn't today some type of super reliable? Yes, I wanted to bring this up, James Morgan, because today every single planet, with the exception of Pluto, is going to be visible in the night sky. Well, up to Jupiter. You might be able to catch maybe a tiny faint light of Uranus, but everything right now is in front of the sun. Sometimes we get 4 planets, 5 planets, but every single planet, with the exception of Pluto, is in front of the sun. The moon is new, and it's in Pisces. And so I've been talking about this. So with the effect of Pluto being behind the sun, Pluto is the ruler of Scorpio. Right. And so when we get into Scorpio, we talk about things that are occulted or hidden. And with Pluto being behind the sun and all these other planets being in front of the sun, some very interesting things happen. That which has been hidden becomes exposed. Right. We're seeing something we've never seen before in that press conference. And when you talk about the position of the moon, right, it's between the sun, which is warm and loving and kind, right? Like the son is the father of the child up until about the age of 4 or 5. They're rolling around on the ground, wrestling, playing, right? And then there's Saturn, and Saturn is the hard father, right? Saturn is the stern father. Saturn brings out the belt. And we saw that. We saw the moon between the sun and Saturn. At one point, Trump was the sun. He's like, we're going to do a deal. We're going to be fair. We're offering up all these things. And then on a dime, Trump became Saturn. And it's like, no, you don't have the cards. Like, that is completely astrological. And we witnessed that right there in that exchange. And
but
even if you
the next astrological response might be the assassination and death of Donald Trump.
The next one is the Pope. It's the Pope.
Well, the Pope's going to just die of old age.
The Pope is coming to an end between now and the 14th of March. And then again, astrologically, you want to have another discussion about that. What sign is Zelensky? He's an Aquarius. And what sign is JD Vance? He's a Leo. And they are opposite, right? They are in opposition. And we saw that. We saw it was like JD Vance turned up the volume. He turned up the heat on Zelensky. That was awesome. Look, whatever you think of those dudes in that moment, I was proud of them because they weren't going to take that little cocksucker shit any longer. There we go.
Yeah.
All right. Some think the Pope has already died. AM, I wouldn't be surprised. I would. But Z has Moon and Saturn in Leo too. That's a debilitation as far as I'm concerned.
Is anybody seeing any kind of reaction to this event out there from the different?
I'm sure we will. I'm sure we will. Let's see. Well, this is a compliment right here. It's like watching Huntley and Brinkley in the 60s. Remember those guys?
Yeah.
Lisa Ann White says Biden couldn't have held that conversation.
Oh, no, of course not.
Can you imagine Kamala Harris sitting there?
Yeah,
playing the Vance role?
Completely different reality. You're just kind of seeing, maybe you're kind of seeing what really goes on in real backroom conversations, frank conversations. But I don't know. That probably not even that, because those are diplomats doing that. I mean, you know, you got to be kind of careful. He's got to be very delicate around the Russians. The Russians aren't going to put up with any kind of shit from Trump.
Yeah,
because they don't really owe him anything. You know, the Russians don't owe the United States anything. The United States is an adversary. All their people consider the United States adversaries, and so they're not on the hook the way Zelensky is. Zelensky's really vulnerable to being kind of cast aside. So how do the Russians? I think the Russians just keep their mouths shut. They'd be smart to just keep their mouths shut and not really say anything.
Kamala will bend her knees in front of Zelensky, BJ to a deal. I happen to think Kamala, if that is her actual sex, might be the wrong sex for Zelensky. Just saying. Trump's statement, this is what Tom says. I want peace. He disrespected the United States of America in this cherished Oval Office. He can come back when he is ready for peace.
AP says Zelensky left after Trump yelled at him. Lunch untouched. Didn't eat his lunch. Oh, man. Okay. I mean, I believe that.
Yeah. Well, Russ, I think this has been a really...
Trump didn't yell at him. He just basically spoke very sternly to him, very frankly.
So, all right. So what... Can I share a personal story? A little personal story here. So there was a time when my ex-wife and I were in therapy, right? And, you know, Russ, did you ever do therapy with the mother of your children? Huh?
Yeah. Yeah. What a joke.
All right.
That's why I'm single. That's why I've been single for the last 20.
Okay, so my ex-wife wants to do therapy with me, okay, with this woman, this marriage counselor, and God, so funny. So like I'm not the person you want to bring to therapy because I'm very astute psychologically. Not that I'm trying to do a limited hang or try to, you know, do a run around, but look, there's not a lot of psychologists that are going to be able to tell me something I don't already know. I'm just saying that. Okay. So we go into therapy with this woman and, we're trying to like work things out, right? Work things out. And at a certain point in time, I'm starting to get frustrated. It's like, okay, there are all these things that are wrong about our relationship. I get it, and I'm willing to address those things. But at a certain point, I'd like to shift to therapy. I'd like to start talking about things that are in our relationship that are good and that we can build on, and we can invest some emotion and some love.
Well, the problem.
Hold on. I'm not done here.
I want to interject something here, but go ahead.
Let me just uncoil this, right? And so at that time, my ex-wife doesn't want to do that. She just wants to continue to peck at the shadow, right? So then I'm starting to lose some patience, and I start to get frustrated. And now my tone during the therapy is starting to get perhaps a bit more voluble. Not yelling, right? But I'm starting to respond in a way where I'm kind of adamant about certain things. And my ex is like, oh, you always get angry and you always yell, right? And I'm like, okay. The therapist, Robert, would you mind keeping your response at a certain level, a certain tone? I'm like, okay, fine. No problem with that. So I play that game, right? And eventually, none of it gets any traction. And we eventually wind up getting divorced, right? So then my ex-wife, who loved therapy, says, we need to go see a therapist to help us with the transition and work with our son. I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. So we go to a different therapist, right? This one is on the same street. It's just down at the end of the street. And we sit down and we start to talk, and my ex-wife starts to uncoil all this stuff. And then I come back and I just say my thing, right? I just say my thing, and I say it in the way that I am feeling. I'm not angry, but I'm not going to sit there and, be meek or moderate my tone. And my ex-wife says, I hate it when he gets so angry like that and just starts yelling. And then the therapist says, I didn't experience him as angry. My experience with him was that he was impassioned. And I'm like, fuck, thank you. Thank you. Right? And guess what, Russ? That was our last visit with that therapist. All right. The reason I bring that up is because that's what Trump was doing. Like, I relate to where he was in that conversation.
How would you like to be dragged into therapy? I mean, I'll just give you a little of my personal experience with it, where you think, you kind of generally, like, this is my second wife, generally liked her. I liked her. I just thought I was doing fine. I thought we had a reasonably, it wasn't perfect, but a reasonably good relationship. I was not in any hurry to end it or anything like that. And then you go into therapy, and all this shit comes out, and you're kind of going, oh my God, I had no idea. How do you deal with that in therapy? Tell me that one.
Look, I think therapy can be useful, but most therapists are useless. Most of them are useless. If you I
don't think the therapy could have done anything for my situation. It was
look,
just like, it was the worst thing to do to go in and hear that from her. It really wrecked my relationship doing that.
A really good therapist will tell you things you don't want to hear. Trust me. And not want to hear like, wow, he's a narcissist and you need to leave him. Right? Like, that's not what I'm talking about. A really good therapist will tell you uncomfortable truths about yourself versus siding with you. So, well, what would happen if, you asked for more private time or personal space? How do you think they would feel about it?
But who wants to hear that from a therapist? Come on.
Yeah, this is classic right here. Therapist, the rapist. Absolutely. Well, Russ, how is our daily dose of Friday therapy? I feel like we're getting closer. I feel like, Russ, some of the things that have been bottling up between us and points of perception that we don't always agree on, we're getting closer, Russ.
I think you and I are always going to have some conflict over Trump, so might as well get used to it.
But I feel like we
need to bring a therapist in.
No, we don't. Trump. I'm sorry, Russ. This is our therapy,
Okay.
right? This is our therapy, and I feel like today, Russ, we've overcome some obstacles in our relationship, and I feel like part of me that the part of me that represents you feels a little more healed today. So Russ, I just want to thank you for being open and being here and being present, so we can have these dialogues and have these conversations. So thank you so much, Russ. I feel great. I feel grateful for this.
Robert, thank you too. Thank you for bringing this whole topic to the table today. It was a fascinating session full of many surprises, I might add.
Many surprises. Well, until next time, and we can continue this evolution around healing ourselves through each other and through the events of the world. Until then, Russ, thank you, and keep living your best life.
Yes. Have a happy one out there. Have a happy day, everybody. Bye-bye.
Hey, go to winterwatch.net and subscribe to Russ's website, and then also go to Twitter and follow Russ. Been a great show. Thanks for being here. We didn't talk about Epstein, but this is a hell of a lot better. I'm going to change the thumbnail. I'm going to change the description of the show, and we'll make it a bit more, how shall I say, topical. Hang out with us on Sunday Night Astro Live. I think I am going to do a jam tomorrow over on Locals. I just haven't gotten over there to post it. I'm going to post it this afternoon. So if you are a member of Locals, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to set up a live, right? I'm going to set up a live, and then I'm going to also set up a simultaneous Zoom so that we can get on a Zoom. I know a lot of you don't like Zoom, but the challenge with Locals is that I wind up doing kind of a Rumble live stream, and it's just chat. And some of you do like to talk. So I think that's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff. We're going to talk about the alignment. This is like, there's a lot of gravy out there. All right. Thanks for being here. Love y'all. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, all that stuff. We'll see you on Sunday night. For you Locals member, we'll see you on Locals tomorrow. Bye for now.